Hey everyone, today's going to be a little bit of a different episode than what you're used to. Today we're talking about the coronavirus going around called COVID-19. We're going to learn what a virus is, what a virus does to you, how a virus spreads, and how you can fight viruses. A couple days ago, I had a chance to interview our public health director for Contra, Costa County, Dan Peddycord. So, what is a virus?
So viruses are so small you can't see them with the naked eye. So you have to put them under a microscope to see them. They're so small. That are around us every day. Many of them are fairly harmless, in part because we've created an immunity to them because we've been exposed to them so many times over the course of our lifetimes and over the course of human history. But when a novel virus, meaning a brand new one we've never seen before, emerges on the scene, it can create a lot of concern for us in public health, because again, it can mean that particularly if one is highly infectious, like this COVID-19 is, and we have no immunity to it, we're going to have to go through a period of time where we socially distance from one another so we don't inadvertently catch this virus, or hope that a vaccine comes on the market sometime in the next, half year to year or so out. And then it'll be really important for all of us to get vaccinated, because there's a term we call herd immunity, which technically really just means that well over 90% of us have gotten vaccinated or exposed to the virus, so we are subsequently immune. And once we've reached that term of herd immunity, it means that most other folks are now protected from the virus, even if you haven't been vaccinated. But the magic here is that you have to get well over 90% of everybody vaccinated or exposed to the virus.
How is COVID-19 different from the common cold or seasonal flu, and are we immune?
That's a great question. Actually, COVID-19 is in a family of viruses shared with the common cold. Those are called coronaviruses. And so you've heard of viruses called SARS and MERS in the past. Those are also coronaviruses. It's different in two really important ways from the common cold or even the seasonal flu bug. One is which is we have no natural immunity to this particular virus because it's novel or brand new. And because of that, and because we have no immunity, it means that all of us are susceptible to getting this virus, much more so than even the common cold or particularly the seasonal flu bug. And secondly, this particular virus seems to be create more serious illness. It has a higher lethality rate than the typical seasonal flu does. And so when you take those two things together, one, many more of us are now susceptible to this new virus, this novel virus, and it can create much more serious illness in humans. Those two things together cause us a lot of concern in public health, and it's why all of these very aggressive social distancing measures are in place.
One of the questions we asked Mr. Peddycord was, what does it feel like to have COVID-19? What do those symptoms do to people? So let's have him answer this question.
That's another really good question. And the answer is that it ranges significantly. Some people, maybe as much as 20 to 25% of persons who actually have COVID-19 in their bloodstream have little or no symptoms at all. They're walking around with it and not really aware that they are positive for COVID-19. But for those of us who have more serious illnesses, it can be sort of progressive in its nature. Oftentimes it starts with a dry cough and progressive shortness of breath, meaning over a period of days or a couple of weeks, it gets increasingly more difficult to breathe. And oftentimes then, as it begins to evolve into more serious sort of difficulty breathing, your temperature can begin to go up over 100 degrees. And we earlier thought that the sort of sentinel temperature for COVID-19 was 101.4, and now we're lowering that a little bit to more around 100 degrees. But it really ranges. Many younger people seem to have very mild symptoms and are walking around with it, probably don't even know they have it. And unfortunately, older persons particularly with underlying health conditions like diabetes or congestive heart failure or lung disease can have a much more serious manifestation of this illness. And this is a particular virus that has a propensity to cause pneumonia. And so that's oftentimes what older people succumb to, is their lungs fill up with fluid, which is what pneumonia is, and it gets the best of it.
Something to consider with a new coronavirus, especially a novel coronavirus, like Dan said, that we've never seen it before and therefore we have no immunity to it. Where did it come from? How did it get from where it was to worldwide like it is now?
A lot of speculation about that. So typically viruses are evolving in Asia before they reach the United States. And actually that's how vaccines in the United States are invented, so to speak, is we take a look at what is circulating in the Asia Pacific Rim, usually a year or so before our next flu season, and we begin to develop a vaccine to what's circulating overseas. And so in this case, we believe coronavirus emerged somewhere in Asia, most likely China. And as you followed the news, the town of Wuhan, in one of the provinces in China, really was sort of the epicenter of where this particular virus appeared to have initiated. There's been a lot of speculation about, well, did it come from an animal? And it may have, because coronaviruses often periodically do come from animals, and bats are a very common reservoir for this particular type of family of viruses. And so it's possible that it was introduced from a bat into humans. We don't absolutely know for certain what animal likely transmitted this into humans, but it probably was an animal, and the most likely culprit's a bat.
I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what is being done to keep us safe and how can I stay safe myself? So here's what Mr. Peddycord had to say about that.
Yeah, the single most important thing that your parents can do for you is to, and you're probably not going to like to hear this, is to make sure that you're maintaining a safe social distance from everyone who's outside of your immediate family. That means not visiting friends, not visiting grandparents, especially because, again, older persons are especially vulnerable to this virus. And that really means isolating in place, abiding by the home shelter-in-place home quarantine order from our health officer. That's really tough to do as the weather gets nicer and we all get cabin fever, but it's the single most important thing that we all can do to help prevent the spread of this virus. What you can do personally, every single one of us, first and foremost, stay home if you're ill. Don't go into work, don't go out to play, don't go to school. If you're not feeling well, be cautious and stay home. Even though you may not be sure if you've got COVID-19 or if it's just the common cold. Out of an abundance of caution, stay home when you're ill. Don't go out and about. Don't go to the grocery store. Don't go to Costco. Send somebody else to go do that.
Right.
Second, cover your mouth when you cough and sneeze. Always. And if you don't have a handkerchief, do the Dracula. Cough into your elbow. But what we're recommending now, and what will go into effect tomorrow, Wednesday, is a mandatory masking order for all persons when they're out and about in public. So if you're driving alone in your car, you don't need to wear a mask, it's just you. But if you're out and about at the gas station, at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, the post office, wherever you go, please wear a mask. Even a cloth mask is helpful. The idea of this type of masking isn't to prevent you from getting the virus, it's to prevent you from spreading the virus by your breathing, your coughing, and your sneezing. So the type of mask, even a cloth mask, helps to reduce those droplets from being spread out. So that's why it's really important that we all mask. The next thing you can do, as I've mentioned before, is avoid visiting relatives and family members, particularly older family members like your grandparents. So when you go up and give your grandparents a hug, you may have just inadvertently exposed them to the virus. So as hard as it sounds, maintaining a safe social distance from even your loved ones is really important. And that's especially true if your grandparents have underlying health conditions like heart disease, diabetes, or particular cancer, because many persons who are undergoing cancer treatment have a compromised immune system, which could make them even more vulnerable to this virus.
Hey everyone, really quick, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Dan Peddycord. Thank you so much for your interview. The interview that we had was amazing. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to talk to you. All the information you gave me, I learned a lot from it, and I hope my viewers will learn a lot from it as well. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please let us know so we know how we're doing, and I will see you next time. I've been your host, James, and I want you to have a wonderful day.